The countdown to the Sweet 16 is here, just a couple days away. We have assistant coach Sasha Stefanovic joining Boilers in the Stands starting right now.
It's Zach Eady with Purdue men's basketball, and you're watching Boilers in the Stands.
Welcome back here to Boilers in the Stands. Little Purdue basketball talk here on this Wednesday evening. Joining the show here, obviously, I'm your host, Kraig Bowers Jr. Alongside me, as always, is Joe Jackson and Kraig Bowers. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Please hit that like button. And, of course, make sure you head out to our little pregame party here. Sweet 16 pregame party starting at 4:30 Eastern, going all the way till 9 p.m. Eastern, because the game, of course, does not tip off at the earliest until 10 p.m. Eastern. QR code here on your screen. We'll give some details here in just a little bit on how you can get there and get your tickets and everything else. But let's get right into it so we don't take up too much of our good friend's time. Friend of the program, friend of the family here, Sasha Stefanovic, former player, current assistant coach for Purdue men's basketball. How you doing, Sasha?
Good. Thank you guys for having me.
And we appreciate you coming on, man. It's been a fun journey, obviously, everything through your playing career and now into your coaching career. You know, a year ago at this time, you guys were finding your way to a Final Four, and now here you guys are again, back in the Sweet 16, 6 of the last 8 years in the Sweet 16, 2 Elite Eight appearances, looking to make it 3, a Final Four, and a national championship appearance. Truly is the golden era for Purdue men's basketball. I have to say, Sasha, at the start of the year, when you guys took down Alabama at home, it definitely felt like a moment for this iteration of the Purdue Boilermakers as a chip on their shoulder, prove it to everyone else that this isn't just, you know, everything that Zach Eady was and a 2-time national player of the year. You obviously had a big, you know, I think these guys had a lot to prove on what they could do without him. And I think the same can be said with this Sweet 16 appearance, you know, now to be able to follow this up after losing 4 seniors last year. Maybe talk about some of that stuff with, you know, working with these guys on, you know, starting their own journey here in this new era.
Yeah, obviously it's super important, right? You get, you know, you lose a player of Zach's caliber and what he brings to a team and a program, but we have great returning players and guys that have a lot of experience, a lot of winning pedigree, that understand our system and our culture, right? And those guys hear all the, you know, the things that people say about, you know, that we can't get to a certain spot because, you know, we don't have Zach or this player or that player, whatever it may be. So it's really cool. It's really cool that they kind of took it upon themselves to lead our team and to get us to a point where we're in the NCAA tournament as another high seed, get through the first and second rounds, and then, you know, get to play in front of our home fans in Indy. So against a really talented team. So it's really cool. Our freshmen have done such a great job of learning and growing throughout the season and just, you know, continuously getting better each day and understanding like the things that they need to work on and the things that are going to help them get time on the floor. And everybody has really just done a good job of kind of just understanding what is going to help our team win the most games.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sasha, one of the things I'm really curious about, we've seen this connectivity between former players coming on as grad assistant coaches or actual assistant coaches and getting kind of promoted up through the program. Is there a different role for you guys because of that closeness of how recent it was you played in terms of how you can connect to and talk to these players that are going through different things, adversity or highs and lows all the way through, compared to like what Coach Painter or Coach Brantley or anybody like that can do?
Yeah, I think we're just an extension of Coach Paint, right? I think it's really important for young athletes in any system, right, to have a person that they could relate to, right? We understand how to play for Coach Paint. We've understood different roles on his team. We've played, you know, all of us that have been on the staff, we've played the bench. We've been guys that are in a role. We've started. We've been captains, right? We've done all of the things that, you know, you ask of people in your program to continuously build and, you know, get better and find yourself in the system and understand, you know, what Purdue basketball is all about. So I think it's really cool for myself and some of my former teammates and guys that I've been around to now be in the in the coaching ranks of helping these young guys, and I think they do a great job of listening to us, respecting our coaching abilities, and understanding that we're really just trying to get them to be the most successful they could possibly be, right? Help them reach their fullest potential, and all while we're doing that, helping Purdue win a lot of games.
So you play in Lucas Oil, and I think it kind of was a shock, I think, to a lot of fans and just people involved in college basketball. It's like, hey, why is this being played in a football stadium? You played there 2021 during the tournament. Especially for you, you were a shooter in college. Is there any difference in terms of just playing in a football stadium, just with sight lines and the way that the ball looks and the rim looks, or is it just does that talking point get overblown a bit?
I think for sure it gets overblown, in my opinion. I think at the end of the day, I think shooters are able to figure it out, right? I think you're able to kind of get comfortable in an environment. And, for myself, I never really played on the, like the Final Four, in a stadium scale, right? When we played in that, obviously it was different with the whole bubble and closed off, and there really wasn't fans anyway. So it was different. But when I was there, obviously last year when we had our practices and stuff in the Final Four, and I was on the floor, messing around, shooting with the guys and everything, I found it to be, I didn't think it was nearly as hard as people talk about it. I thought it was much more friendly to a shooter than people say it is. So I think they do a great job of kind of enclosing it to make it feel more intimate when it is obviously a huge stadium. But I think they do a great job of putting stands in a spot where it really doesn't feel anything different than a normal like NBA arena. So we'll see how this looks, obviously, because it's kind of blocked off differently this year for us in the Sweet 16. So I'm not sure. I haven't seen it yet. Tomorrow we have practice. So kind of get a lay of the land when we get there.
Yeah, and it will be a little different, right? Because in 2021, that was when COVID restrictions were just starting to kind of taper off. And so I don't think they had the same kind of layout near the court that when you look to buy tickets on a secondary market, you can kind of see the map. And I don't recall there being the same kind of stands around that were on the court level. So I do think did you lose me? Did you lose me?
No, I got him.
I got you.
Can you hear me, Sasha?
Is it mine or is it on ground? Okay.
Sasha, can you hear us, Sasha?
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
Interesting.
Okay. Gotcha.
I don't know what's going on with Braggs. I'm sure he's just gonna try to probably reset and then rejoin. I did actually, while talking about shooting, I did have a quick follow-up. I don't know if I'm sure you've used the tournament ball, just at least messing around. I don't know if they used it while you played.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on it? Because I know it is also a hot topic.
Yeah, the ball is different for me. I do believe that the ball makes a big difference. Right, you can't make excuses. Obviously, if you're a basketball player and you're a high-level player, you're going to be able to figure it out, right? But I do think, I've been on the stance, I think it's kind of ridiculous that college basketball doesn't have one ball. I understand sponsorships and money and different things like that, but I don't know. I just feel like it should just be pretty simple just to use one ball. But, sometimes when you get in the tournament, the style of rims that you play in these NBA arenas are usually meant for NBA balls. So they're more tight, they're tighter rims. They don't give as much bounce and everything like that. And the balls get kind of overinflated. So then sometimes you're left with some bad misses and some, really weird rebounding, rebounds and everything like that. So it is a little different. I played with it, I think, my last 2 years in that tournament. So it's just a little different for sure.
All right. So do you have me now? All right, good. Just making sure. So yeah, I was just saying that I thought,
Sasha, we do that sometimes too. When Greg's going too long, Joe and I just act like we can't.
Act like my internet's messed up. That's smart.
Get him out of here.
Yeah, for sure. No, so all I was saying was I felt like I think the floor layout for how the fans are going to be at Lucas Oil as opposed to 2021 is going to be a little different because in 2021 of the COVID restrictions, I don't believe there were stands next to the court, and there will be for this one. So I think there's a lot of interesting variables. The fact that Houston is basically relatively playing a home game for Purdue. They kind of drew a tough draw as a 1 seed there. And then, of course, the 10:10 tip at night. It could be even later than that.
Mhm.
Like, what? I mean, for you guys, I mean, I know this is just kind of what it is for the tournament, nature of the beast.
Yeah.
But, like, what was your guys' reaction when you realized that's what time you're going to tip?
Yeah, I think we had another late tip when I was a player. I think our Elite Eight game against Virginia was late, or I've had some late NCAA games. But personally, for me as a player, when I was playing in this, I hated late tips. Hated them. My least favorite time was the 9 o'clock slot. I'm pretty sure if you look at my splits from noon and 2 o'clock games to 9 o'clock games, I was way better earlier in the day. But obviously now, it's not a big deal at all. But it's just different, right? You just have to kind of prepare yourself different. You have to kind of get yourself ready to go at the time. But, it doesn't really matter, right? We could play this game at 1 a.m. It don't matter. Our guys are going to be ready to go and excited and hyped. And I know that the fans are going to be super excited, and it doesn't matter what time or what place, and it's going to be rocking for sure.
Well, to your point about your splits being better in the day versus the night, I did see somebody pull up a stat that said Braden's splits are better at night versus the day. So who knows if there's an exact science to that, or just unintended coincidences there. I guess my biggest question for you is, and I try not to bug you too much because I know how hard you're working to earn your way through this coaching tree with Matt Painter, and I'm sure there's a lot to learn. When we had Caleb first on, when he said you guys ran like 90 plays in a span of 3 games, like that just kind of shows you. And I can always remember Painter kind of giving you the ultimate compliment as a player at times, saying, you could run his team. I don't think he says that about too many guys. So I'm curious now, as an assistant coach, everything you learned as a player from a playbook perspective, what are the biggest differences on what you've now learned as a coach? And then also like how much more of a challenge it is to be underneath Painter player versus coach.
Yeah, I think as a player, you don't really understand the preparation and the detail and all of the things that coaches go into every single day to really just give you the information, right? When we go to film as a player, and you're 2 days out of the game, you're just given all of this information, what they're going to do offensively, how they're going to guard us, do they trap, do they zone, do they post double, how do they guard ball screens, all those little things that go into how they're going to play, it's just given to you, right? So I think it's really cool as a coach and on this side of things you kind of crack the puzzle for how you want to beat a team, right? So I think it's really cool for myself to learn from Coach Painter and PJ, really just on the offensive side of things, of kind of just racking our brains of how are we going to beat this team, right? What do they want us to do offensively, and how are we going to counter that? What do we want to do in ball screens? What do we want to do if we go in the post? How are we going to get to our post action? Do they press? How can we beat them on their press? Are they going to zone? What type of zone? What are they looking for? All those little things. It's just really, really cool to understand those things. But I think as a player, it's the same stuff that Coach Payne preaches, right? We talk all the time about on the offensive side, it's all about details of our offense is why we're good, right? We don't have the most athletic. We're not going to wow you with a lot of different things, but our actions are dictated by the details. Do we have great timing? Do we have great pace? Is our spacing right? Like all of those things we preach. And then when we watch film of other teams that don't do those little things that we talk about, it's like our players can now point it out. Like, dang, they weren't in the corners. They didn't get to this spot. They didn't get to that spot. And we empower them to answer those questions. Like, what are you supposed to do here? What did they do wrong? And they answer those questions for us. And it's really cool to see like young players grow and understand how to play the game and understand different things that are going to make you successful. So obviously going from a player to a coach under Coach Painter, it's a transition, right? You kind of learn the different things behind the scenes and everything, but it's really cool for myself to I just try to soak up as much information as I can day to day, because I mean, at the end of the day, he's one of the greatest coaches of all time. So it's really cool for myself to start my coaching career under somebody that I really respect, and other people do as well, you know.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I don't know if Kraig or Joe have anything left. I know I promised you 15 minutes, Sasha, because I don't want to take up too much of your time. So I'll give these two one more if they've got anything for you. We won't get into breaking down how you guys are gonna beat Houston. I know you when you broke that down, it's like, all right, well then tell us, like, how's this gonna go down on Friday? But we'll find out on Friday. Certainly looking forward to it. But I'll let Kraig and Joe finish this off here.
Yeah.
So my question is about, I guess we've heard kind of from Paint that you are in charge of baseline out of bounds, sideline out of bounds plays. If that's true, in general, I guess first tell me that. And then, like, where do you look for inspiration for that? Because there were multiple games, especially early on in this year, I was like, holy crap, CJ is scoring on like at least once a game on a baseline out of bounds play. And like, how can they not defend that?
Yeah.
I've even heard like Painter talk about looking at the NFL sometimes for inspiration about what he's doing. Like, where do you come up with this? Are you dreaming it up in your own head, or are you searching NBA and what they're doing, European basketball, whatever? And then my part two of the question is, having known Greg while he was on his come up, how proud are you of Greg? How much of a professional he has turned in behind the mic here for CHGO and also Boilers in the Stands?
Oh boy.
I'll answer the second question first, but it's awesome, man. It's really cool. Obviously, like, you know, to see where Greg was just coming to high school games and you know, documenting our stuff and our journey and everything like that.
Harassing you can say it.
It's fine. Whatever works, man. But to see where you're at now, it's really, really cool. And it's awesome to see the success and all the things that have been built from that. So kudos to you guys. It's really, really cool. But
Yeah.
for the first part, yes, I have the under out of bounds and the sideline out of bounds. We don't do as much on the sideline out of bounds. We usually just kind of get it in, or if we do something, it's really just simple actions. But yeah, I think for myself, the inspiration, it was actually funny though, when you talked about CJ, every time that we would score on that, Bobby Riddell would look over at me from the radio and just kind of like he was counting the amount of games that we've got it in a row, which is really funny. But for myself, like, I really think it's important to take inspiration, obviously, from teams that kind of fit what we do, right? So I take a lot from teams that I watch a lot, I respect a lot. I watch a lot of EuroLeague basketball. I watch a lot of high level, you know, basketball in general. So if I see something that either kind of interests me or is working or something like that, and I could figure out a way to kind of fit it within our system and maybe an action that's maybe the play gets changed a little bit. Maybe I take the play directly from somebody. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I just like the format of it or whatever. It's really cool for myself to kind of try to figure out ways to fit those types of plays into our, our packages. And really it's just understanding how they're going to cover you, right? I think that's the most important. Do they switch? You know, if they are switching, is it 1 through 3? Is it 1 through 4? Do they switch 5 ways? Did they put the 5 on the ball? Do they zone? Is it, are they going to trap? If they don't switch, I know I got a certain package I could go to, right? If they're not switching any screens. If they put the 5 on the ball, I got a package, right? If they zone. So it's really just understanding that type of stuff where I've kind of learned how to do that from Coach Paint and PJ, where it's like you have to have kind of separate things for how they're going to guard, right? You don't know how they're going to guard until you see it, or, you can understand by watching film. So
my favorite part of this season, one of them at least, was at Mackey watching you, and I can see you come out you're in the second line of the bench, but when there's an inbounds play, you'll sometimes come out and creep up next to Painter. Sometimes you'll even be in front of him and on the court a little bit. And one of my favorite plays, it was like a Steph Curry, but a coaching moment, because I can tell that you're like really dialed in to see if they're going to run this correctly. And you get like the action starts before the ball comes in. And just as it all starts to work in unison, you turned around and walked back to your seat before the play was completed, like with the Tiger Woods fist pump. Yeah. And I was like, hell yeah, that was cold-blooded right there.
A lot of those, like, as long as we set screens, cut hard, and I know that they're not switching or we're going to get something, if we do our job, we score a lot of the times. I think if you look on Synergy data, probably I think we're number 1 or number 2 in the country in baseline.
I just looked it up. You're number 3 behind St. Thomas and Northern Colorado.
See, that kind of pisses me off because we were number 1.
Leave it to Joe. He's always got the stats down. So
Yeah.
hey, well, but we get back to 1 today or on Friday, right? So
There you go.
No doubt.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't have too many more questions. Actually, one from the chat I wanted to throw up here because I think it's just a fun one from Emmy Bogenwright. Says, you and Fletch both shoot 25 threes in a row. Who makes more? I'm going to also add, like, right now from your hotel room or whatever, you both just walk on the floor, no warm-ups, you and Fletch 25 threes. Who's making more?
I actually don't know if I've really picked up a basketball like that in a trenches a little bit, preparing and everything. So I feel like I haven't seen daylight or any type of physical activity. But I'll give it to Fletch for right now, right? But you give me a little time to just get my body a little primed up a little bit, maybe a good sweat in. I could give him a run, I think.
Okay.
But catch and shoot, he's lethal, man. He is lethal.
He is.
Really good catch and shoot.
Then we got a couple more here. You don't have to give this one away, but Gavin Lambert wants to know your favorite play. If you don't want to give that away, then don't.
My favorite play, I'll just say under, I guess. It's the one you're kind of referring to with CJ. I think we've ton where I'm not going to really say the play, but
that's kind of the thing, though, right? Like, Painter's kind of like this. Like, he's not afraid to like literally break down a play in the post game because like it's not like these coaches can't see what you guys are doing, right?
But he's the head coach, Greg. You can't.
But I'm just saying,
Yeah.
ultimately, it just comes down to execution more so than this being like secrets of warfare, right?
Well, but I think that's the point of our offense, right? Is we have so much stuff where you can prepare all you want for it, but at the end of the day, it's hard for players to prepare for 200 plays. Like, that's just not realistic, right? You have to really talk about actions and how you're going to guard actions. But like my stuff, we put in a new series when I started doing this role last year, where it's kind of like on the ball side, we have our 5 start on the block, and then we have a guard on the wing, and then we always go into a back screen, or we do some different things off of it, but we'll have him go into a back screen, and a lot of the times our guards are their guards, I should say, like stay tight, and their 5s don't open up on the back screen. So if they don't open up, I know we have a layup, right? Braden's such a good passer when he has it underneath that if the 5 doesn't open up, we're going to get a shot for CJ. And then after that, we have another action where we're going to get Fletch to a shot, right? It's just layering actions on top of each other where now if we don't have this, how are we going to score, right? I try to score every single time under out of bounds. And then if we don't, we always have our 5 as a safety release just in case. And then now we can get into our normal motion offense. So a lot of different things. Coach has given me kind of it's kind of empowered me sometimes a lot of the time to do some ATO stuff. So I really try to rack my brain and save some stuff for ATOs when we need it. So a lot of those that we got one against USC at home where we scored a ton on under out of bounds in that game. I think we scored 10 points underneath at like a crazy points per possession that game. So and we had one for Fletch where we kind of did a single screen along the baseline for him to get a shot, and it got executed perfectly. So our guys have done a really good job of understanding what I want to like try to get, and they really do a good job of like either cutting hard, screening, understanding what we're looking for and how they're going to cover it.
Yeah, Matt Spurgeon says, delete this video now. So it's like, get smart. This video will self-destruct. 5 says like Mission Impossible.
I'll keep it in the back pocket. No problem.
Yeah, for sure. So
Greg.
final one, Mo Norman. Can you pronounce what he's asking here?
Pieskovica. I don't hate either. They're my 2 favorites, man. That's really tough. I don't know.
It's CVAPs. And what did you say the second one was?
Chevops and Pieskovica, yeah.
Chevops and
They're both like
Pieskovica.
Yeah, they're both like meat dishes in Serbian culture and Macedonian culture. They're both big time. If nobody's ever had some, go to some Balkan cafes or something like that. There's some good ones in Chicago. Try them out.
All right.
I legit thought he was asking about like EuroLeague basketball players. Like, I totally messed that up.
Yeah.
So, hey, Sasha, just a yes or no question, super, super fast. Greg always gets weirdly mad at me when I call a baseline out of bounds play a blob. When I abbreviate it as a blob in a text or whatever. Is that acceptable or not? I just got to know.
Whatever you want to do. I call them, I say UOBs, under out of bounds, but people call them blobs. People call them slobs. I call them sobs. I call them side out.
All right. So, Greg, you can't get mad at me anymore.
No.
Well, there's one thing I know I'll never get mad at you about, and that's we never have to ask you about Jordan or LeBron because you are a true basketball mind. You've proven that here tonight, and that's why I don't even have to ask you the question, even though the rest of the players underneath you that you're coaching, need a lesson in what real basketball is all about. But
Coach B go at them a little bit. We try to put them in our.
Jeez, always these kids. All right, man. Well, best of luck on Friday. We will see you there. The house is going to be rocking. Don't matter how late it goes. Purdue fans are going to show up, and we're rooting you on, man. So I appreciate you carving out some time and going a little overtime with us here tonight, and we'll catch up with you down the road. But best of luck, my friend.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That is Sasha Stefanovic, former sharpshooter and now current assistant coach for Purdue men's basketball. Really appreciate his time as always. And yes, as Kraig alluded to, watching this guy go from, a high school, Crown Point High School, the best player to ever come through that high school and, go to Purdue, and people weren't sure exactly what kind of career he was going to make himself there. Well, he ended up with his 7th most threes in Purdue basketball history, and that's a pretty illustrious history for a Purdue basketball program. A lot of great shooters have come through there, and he's definitely one of the top ones. And so he's got a lot to be proud of, and now he's filling out his coaching career underneath one of the best to ever do it in Matt Painter. Not a bad place to start for his coaching career. So it's going to be exciting to watch him continue that on. And let's hope that continues on this year to the Elite Eight and another Final Four appearance. Tammy Wallen, and everybody else in the chat. Appreciate you guys all hanging out. Please hit that like button while we hang out for just a little longer. We're doing a little bit of a shorter show. Joe and Kraig already did a preview show yesterday. It is posted to our YouTube channel. It's posted on Twitter.
Our longest preview
Facebook.
of the year.
Yeah, it's
longest. Yes.
Yeah. It's 45-minute preview. These guys have been doing previews all year and doing a fantastic job. So we wanted to come back tonight and just get you a little closer to tip off with another show. So we appreciate you guys hanging out. Once again, hit that like button. And then another reminder, like I said, we have a pregame party down in Indianapolis. You can see the QR code here on your screen. Shout out to Tailgreeter for helping set this up. It'll be at the Saint Shack, which those guys have been great to work with here so far. Here's the link on your screen that I just threw up there, tailgreeter.com/boiler in the stand, Sweet 16 pregame. So if you look those things up, you will find it. And then I think I'll also be able to find you the address here real quick. If you don't mind, bear with me here, just so you guys understand. It's 1 second.
It's on Meridian.
It's on Meridian.
It's directly across from the official Purdue bar this weekend too. So if you're planning to go there and it's too full, just walk across the street. Come to us.
Yep. It's 250 South Meridian Street, Indianapolis, Indiana. As I said, 4:30 p.m. Eastern start time. So we're gonna get there early, and then it's gonna go all the way to 9 p.m. Eastern because obviously Purdue doesn't play. Jim, my sales guy from CHGO Sports, he absolutely can come now that he's helped me get the PXG clubs across the finish line here the other day. Very important to me. That's right, Joe. A little flex on you there. So I'll show you those here in a month or so, hopefully. But yes, come on out to the pregame party. You can get and like I said, get your tickets now. Reserve your spot because Tennessee's going to be down there. Kentucky fans going to be down there, and obviously Houston and Purdue fans. Tennessee and Kentucky fans travel very well to Indianapolis, so this city is going to be flooded. Obviously with Purdue fans as well. So getting into bars, depending on what time you're showing up, isn't always the easiest. And yes, the Purdue guys, the Purdue, athletics program, they've got their own event. But if you're not one of the first people there, like people don't really leave. So it gets harder to get in there and have your spot, have your seat. So we're giving you guys another option. And obviously with anybody that tunes into this show, we'd love to see you there so we can, watch some basketball and hang out. And, Tennessee and Kentucky will tip off at 7:40 p.m. Eastern. So we'll be there. I'll be there till 9 p.m. Eastern. And then the game will be at 10:10 at the earliest, unless Kentucky, Tennessee is probably going to go over. And if it goes to, with our luck, it's going to go to quadruple overtime. And then Purdue and Houston aren't going to tip off till 11 p.m. Eastern. So, it's kind of crazy. I know Sasha said like, hey, I'll deal with anything. And the backdrop's not so bad. I think that perspective changes for each person a little bit. I think the backdrop for this particular setup is different than Arizona, where you had the full stadium. So
that's completely different.
It's completely different because you're end zone to end zone, as opposed to it turned where you're cutting the stadium in half, and now you're turning the court.
The courts, it looked like it's probably in basically the end zone, like one of the end zones.
Yep, it is.
Right.
Essentially.
And like I said, it's a little different than 2021, where Purdue, we won't name the team they lost to in the tournament that year, but it was a tough loss. But at the same time, they didn't have stands down near the court. It was all up on the upper, like the first 100.
But they had stands on the opposite side.
Yeah, I mean, I have video.
I'm pretty sure they did. Look. But the spacing requirements were still there, weren't they? Like, didn't there have to be gaps in seats or something?
Yeah. No, because at that point completely lifted. It was completely lifted.
Okay.
But I know for a fact that on the court, opposite side of like where all the seating is, the stadium seating, they have down court side access on the opposite side of the court that's like near midfield. They did not have that in 2021 to my recollection. So maybe I'm wrong there, but regardless, I do think that because you guys did your preview show, so we're not going to dive too far into the details. Watch the preview show if you really want the X's and O's breakdown from Joe and Kraig. But just from my standpoint, obviously Houston's the better team. Let's just call it for what it is. Purdue loses a 2-time National Player of the Year, 4 seniors, Mason Gillis, Ethan Morton, and obviously Lance Jones as well. That's hard to then rebound this year to come back from and try to go up against a team like Houston. Certainly not making any excuses. It's just a fact. Houston's one of the best teams in the country. Purdue, admirably has fought their way back into being one of the last 16 teams left here this season. But they've got their hands full here on Friday night. But it is a home game for Purdue. That's just a luck of the draw aspect for Houston. I know everybody's crying about it like Houston got jobbed here, but ultimately these regional sites are picked in years in advance. So it wasn't like they set Houston up on this. It's just kind of the way it all laid out. You got the late tip, which is going to, be a effect for everybody. But, for a team like Houston that's, rolling and that they've won 12 games in a row at this point?
15
games in a row. This is the third straight team that's won 12 or more games in a row that they're facing here in the tournament. So I think that aspect throws everything off a little bit. And then obviously being in an NFL stadium, it's a little different environment that you're used to, with it normally being in a normal basketball stadium. So I do think there are some aspects to this game that are going to muddy it up a little bit. And, I think are going to maybe even some balances, or maybe that's just the fan in me talking and some coping and rationalization to hope Purdue has a puncher's chance in this.
I think the fan thing is going to be really interesting, right? Because it's been, I think, 5 years since Kentucky made a Sweet 16. And if you're talking about like the largest blue blood fan bases, right? You're talking like Duke, Kansas, Kentucky, North Carolina. No, UCLA doesn't travel like the others to me. I would still call
naming blue bloods. My bad.
I would still call UCLA a blue blood, but I don't think their fans travel like the 4 that I just talked about. And this is like the first time in 5 or 6 years that Kentucky's like got a little bit of a run, and we are 3 hours or less from UK. I think a lot of where ticket prices are right now is driven by like this fervor by Kentucky fans of like, we're finally back a little bit. So it's going to be really interesting to me. Like, I think Purdue fans are going to turn out, show out, but I also think that stadium is going to be really full of Kentucky fans. So to me, it's going to be interesting who stays after the first game. And if they stay, who are they rooting for? Because if it's a bunch of Tennessee fans, they ain't rooting for us. I can effing promise you that. If it's Kentucky fans, they might be rooting for the upset.
That's where I was going, though. Like, Tennessee probably, like, they might root for Purdue because they're like, all right. And I promise, I think in their minds, like, I understand, like, Purdue has beat them in a lot of stuff, but like, if I'm a Tennessee fan looking, I'm like, well, if the goal is to make the Final Four, I think from a Tennessee fan standpoint, not from my standpoint, from a Tennessee fan standpoint, you look at the two teams and you're like, oh yeah, I'd rather play Purdue every day rather than Houston. I do think I understand, like, there's the whole beef and all that stuff, but like, I do think there is that aspect where even if Kentucky wins, like, they're probably pulling for Purdue because in their heads, Purdue is a better chance for them to win and advance to the Final Four.
See, I just don't think you understand SEC fans because, like, I spent a lot of time in my college years in the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years with the business that I did in SEC country. And, like, if they get a grudge, it don't matter. It does not matter. Rationale.
You did
Thank you. Finally got it. To what else is going on? What would be best for them? If they've got a grudge, they're going to stick to it. Like, and Tennessee hates us so much. I promise you. I've been to that state for the last 4 years in a row for like a week at a time. They hate us. They are going to root against us.
I understand where you're coming from, but I do see they have a decision to make, right? And if they're thinking logically and not off emotion, which is impossible, they're Tennessee fans and SEC fans are nuts. So they are going to live off of emotion, and they're probably still jaded. They are still jaded by everything Purdue has put them through the last few years, especially last year. But if they were thinking logically, you're going to root for Purdue over Houston. And if you're also thinking competitively as a Tennessee fan, hell yeah, bring Purdue back to the Elite Eight because I want to beat them to make my first Final Four, smack them in the mouth for once. But maybe they're scared of us. If they're scared of us, then they're going to root for Houston, and then Houston's going to beat them. So they'll have a decision to make if they win.
Houston's not going to beat them because Houston's not going to get there.
You're damn right. So, it's it'll be interesting too, and if Kentucky wins, then I think you'll have a better chance of Kentucky fans sticking around. If Kentucky loses, then you're going to get at least half, if not more, of their crowd leaving because they'll be upset with the outcome of the first game. So it'll be interesting to watch it all break down. It's obviously going to be an electric atmosphere Friday night. So, hey, as fans, this is the Fans in the Stands show, right? Let's give it all we got when we're there on Friday night. And I know there's going to be a lot of people there that are tuned into this show as well. So excited for that and everything else. Obviously, like I said, we will have our pregame party at the Saint Shack. Once again, there's the QR code presented by our friends over at Tail Greeter. The Saint Shack people were kind enough to team up with us. 4:30 Eastern to 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be there. And if you hit the QR code, or here, I'll pull up the link here on your screen. That's tailgreeter.com/Boilers in the Stand Sweet 16 pregame at Saint Shack. So if you search that, you'll find it. But we've also posted the link on Twitter and Facebook and everywhere in between. So you shouldn't have a hard time finding it. So make sure you reserve your spot for sure to come on out for that one. Other than that, like I said, we were going to keep this one short. You guys had the preview show yesterday. It is posted to our YouTube channel. Links on Facebook and YouTube, or Facebook and Twitter as well. So for those of you that wanted a little more dive into the X's and O's of how exactly Purdue has a chance to beat Houston, I watched it on my way up to work today. You guys did an excellent job kind of underlying some of the things that Purdue can do to win this game. And ultimately, I think one of the other variables that I like about this is, when you talk about playing in a football stadium, talk about playing at 10:30 at night, you talk about playing in Indianapolis in a home game. Another thing that I like, yes, Kelvin Sampson is a great coach, right? And he's shown what he's built at Houston for a program, and showed, like you said, Kraig, on the preview show, of how he's really nurtured guys. He isn't just bringing in transfers. These guys have been a part of this program for some time. But I will say this: we're all the trusted Painter program here. I do like that instead of playing Houston on a short turnaround, where after you win a game, now you only have one day to prep for Houston, you have all week. So when you heard Sasha talk about how him and PJ Thompson and Matt Painter come together about what are the ways we can beat Houston, as you guys pointed out in the preview, they have very few weaknesses. So I'm sure it would take a lot of time to figure out the little wrinkles that you can put in a game of how you can beat Houston. And the fact that you get a full week to do that from the last time they played on Saturday, now you get 6 days to prepare for the toughest game of your year. I like that obviously a lot better than only getting 1 day to prepare for that game. So I think that's the other aspect of this that I think is a big advantage for Purdue, because I think Houston, with the advantages they have just from a roster standpoint, would be fine on short or long rest, because they're the ones that are the tougher opponent here. All due respect. We got to call it like we see it. Obviously, we are all rooting for Purdue, but if they win this game, this will be an upset. They are not expected to win this game. And so the only way they can is by punching this team in the mouth and coming out to a hot start.
And that's, like you said, we broke down all the X's and O's on our preview. And I honestly think it was our best preview of the year, at least from my standpoint. It was maybe the most prepared I've been for a game. I'm not going to speak for you on that point, Greg. I don't know, obviously, the prep. That's where I was going with that. But Braggs, I want to ask you this question, then maybe we can get out of here, because obviously you know your stuff, but you are, I think, at your core, a vibes guy, and you're a fan. And right towards the end of our preview, and I put it out on Twitter too, I kind of had the thought of like, oh, this is like the first game since December of 2022 that Braden, TKR, and Fletcher, I would argue, like from an external, like outside pressure, like there is less pressure on Purdue, on those three, for the first time, rather than the team going up against Purdue, right? Every time it feels, for the past 2.5 years, it's, if Purdue loses, it's the biggest story in college basketball, it's felt like. That's not the case for this game. And I'm curious if you have any thoughts on that, and just in general, whether it be players or just even as a fan.
Well, when you talk about December 2022, I mean, what matchup are you referring to there?
No specific. It was more just like, that was right. November 2022 was the PK 85. That was when it was like, oh, Edie's like insanely good. And Purdue, I don't know if they climbed to number 1, but they were a top 5, top 10 team for sure. And then they got to number 1.
It was the fastest they went from fastest a team has ever gone from unranked to number 1 in the country in the history of college men's basketball. So that was the time where they had to kind of prove it. And so I agree, where you look back, even at the start of this year, as I referenced to Sasha, this team had a lot to prove to start the year. Who were they going to be without Zach Edey? And you play Alabama, I believe was ranked 3rd in the country at Mackey Arena, 2nd in the country. Thank you, Kraig. And I didn't feel great about that game going in, because I was just like trying to be realistic. I went into the season saying I wasn't going to like have over expectations just to be upset in every game, and keep an open mind to the new development of the new era. Then they come out and beat Alabama to start the year. That's pretty damn impressive win. But that being said, as that went along, losing to Marquette, you kind of saw how this team had a long ways to go. Losing to Auburn, who's somewhat of a similar team, correct me if I'm wrong, as what they're about to face here in Houston. In some ways.
Caliber team, Caliber team. Style.
Not the same style, yeah.
Yeah, but just in terms of being outmatched in certain ways. But they're a much different team, Purdue is, than they were when they played Auburn. You're still finding yourself in a lot of ways. Caleb First hadn't entered the fold as a difference maker, on both sides of the court, specifically defensively. Miles Colvin and Cam Heide hadn't found themselves yet. And now you've had a full year of these rookies, specifically CJ Cox and Jakari Harris, that have a whole lot of confidence now compared to earlier in the year, where you're still trying to understand Matt Painter's system and your role within it. So, for me, I always like being the underdog. Always. All my Chicago teams I root for, every time they're the team that has the expectations, it rarely goes well. That's a hard mountain to stay on top of. And when you're the underdog and you're playing with nothing to lose, I mean, look at St. Peter's in the Sweet 16 a few years ago, right? Purdue could have played Kentucky, and then they would have been the underdogs. But then you play St. Peter's. Now you're playing this team that's got nothing to lose. They've got talent. They're all over you, and it just turns into a madhouse. And that was home court advantage for them, right? So, it turns into something if the team that's supposed to win lets it. So if Purdue can stay in this until halftime, then Houston's going to have their hands full. And if you look at even last year with UConn severely outmatched Purdue, but they did let Purdue hang around till halftime. Now, obviously, UConn stepped on their throat 10 minutes into second half, so that they showed their championship moxie in that moment. But anything can happen as long as Purdue can, hold serve until they get to halftime and hang on, as hard as they can. Or, hey, feel free to jump all over them, right? I'm not against that either. I'm just trying to be realistic of how this goes in. But I will always take being the underdog. And when you look at the Carson Edwards and Ryan Klein year, and when they played Villanova, then they played Tennessee, and then they played Virginia, that was a team that was playing with nothing to lose. And there was just a moment where I felt like they all realized that as a team and were playing with a supreme confidence that they hadn't showed that entire season. Like, even though they had won the Big Ten because they didn't lose one game at home that year, so they found themselves in a way that I think was very unexpected. So now we get to this point. Obviously, you win a couple games you should against a 13 and 12 seed, but I'm excited to watch these guys play with nothing to lose. We've seen I talked about composure, and I know this is long-winded, but I talked about being impressed by the composure that Purdue showed against High Point and McNeese State. The years prior to last year, there was games where they'd play teams like that where High Point would have them only up 3 with 7 minutes to go, and now all of a sudden Purdue's playing scared. And they did not do that. So that's what I want to see, that same composure, that same fearlessness now transferred, not just to beat a team you're supposed to, but to beat a team you're not supposed to. Right here, right now, on Friday, get them on their heels, get them scared of the moment, and then go out there and play nothing to lose. You're playing with house money in your own house. So I'm excited. I'm excited for it because this season has been a success. Look at everything they've accomplished with, first year out of Zach Edey. Braden Smith wins Big Ten Player of the Year, All-American. TKR's had an unbelievable season. These guys deserve all the credit for what they've done as a program this season, but now they have a chance to add the cherry on top to everything that happens here going forward. And that's not a defeatist mentality. That's a realistic mentality, and I'm excited for these guys to have the opportunity to take this to the next level.
100%. And just to go back before to you, Joe, I was not saying that I didn't think that was one of our best shows, because I also did. 100% locked in for me. Obviously, everybody knows when they watch those shows, I'm locked in on the X's and O's. Joe primarily just hosts it. That's totally kidding. I host it. Joe does X's and O's. If you watch his Feed the Post stuff, amazing stuff. Watch it, read it, get the video breakdowns, everything else. Greg, Joe, I have something prepared for you that I did not tell you about, because I did not want to make you guys do any research that would tip you off before coming into this. What is that, Greg?
I don't know. Painter's excited.
That's our Midwestern goodbye.
This is
no.
Painter's excited for whatever you're about to reveal.
I have 5 quiz questions.
Uh-oh.
Between question. Is there an emphasis on quick?
Quick. Between Greg, Joe, and the chat to see who can answer these questions right quicker. Okay. Okay. Five Purdue trivia questions. We don't know how many of these shows we're gonna have left. I want to roll out 5 Purdue trivia questions to you guys right now. Okay.
All right.
Are we ready?
Mm-hmm.
I'm nervous, but yeah.
Second leading scorer in Purdue history, total points.
Total points. Second leading in Purdue history.
Come on, chat. Let's go, chat.
Glenn Robinson.
No. Who did Edey break? Oh my gosh, we literally just tracked it all last year.
Do not search the answer. I will
I'm not
not.
searching anything.
There we go. The chat beat you. The chat
Yeah.
beat you.
That was going to be my second answer, but I went with
Yeah.
the region. I went with the region.
You
The
failed.
pride of Gary,
Look,
Indiana. The pride of Roosevelt.
Literally 5 people answered before you guys fail. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Here's question number 2. I think Joe's going to get this really quick, but we'll see. In the last 8 years, how many Sweet 16s has Matt Painter made?
6.
Oh, Greg got it. Let's go,
I
Greg.
said it first.
No,
you
Greg
didn't.
said it
No,
first.
you didn't. Check the tape.
Greg said
No.
it
Okay.
first.
We're going to
Never
watch
lied.
it back because on my
Mr.
screen I said it first, but it's fine.
Well, yeah. You know what? You're gonna have to
I
get
probably
the
just need
board
better
out.
internet.
You'll have to
I
get
heard
the
it.
board
I
out.
heard it from Greg first. So like,
Chat, who
I
said
think
it
if you
first?
watch the video back, it's
Chat.
gonna be Greg.
I
Chat will
know for a
decide who
fact
said
I said it first, but
Ooh, dude, we need to do this more often. Look at the chat. Like they're
Tammy's
into
the
this
guy.
right now. This needs to
Tammy's
be a
the
featured
guy.
segment.
maybe
okay.
off-season trivia shows.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Here we go.
You have to host though, because if we did this and you were involved, like you can be in it some too, but
This is
it's more
ridiculous.
entertaining, I think, if you
No.
host.
If I was in it, I would win every
Thank
time.
you.
Okay.
Thank
so,
you, Jason Suter.
All
Yeah,
right.
And then, but Heather says me. This is weird. That
Yeah.
no
That's it.
It was
Maybe
me.
it comes through different live. I don't know. We'll watch the tape
You
back. and
guys
we'll-
just like Joe more because he's smarter. But I said it first. Go ahead, Craig.
All right. First person to name me the 3 baby boilers.
Robbie Hummel, Etwan Moore. Oh, I don't know the third.
What? The
Big-
third one was the
Caleb-
most accomplished.
Caleb Swanigan.
What?
No.
There
Oh,
we go,
it's
Casey
wrong.
Bartley. Wait, that's not
Oh, yeah.
Casey covers the team. It's not fair that Casey gets to play.
You cover
I mean,
the team. What are we?
I'm gonna shout out the region. That's what I'll say. That's my answer. Shout out the region.
Well, me and Joe are new to this. We're newer Purdue people, okay? So this is
Yeah.
a good exercise for us to learn.
All right. Okay. So Glenn Robinson, technically the first $100 million man in the NBA, right?
Oh.
In his last year at Purdue, I will say closest guess within a point to how many points he averaged per game.
Oh, it was something crazy.
38 points per game.
It wasn't that crazy.
I'll tell you what, Michael Jordan in the
20
NBA
29
averaged
is my guess.
37 points per game, ladies and gentlemen.
First career?
Joe, are you
No,
going to
he
answer?
had a-
I
no,
said
Joe.
29 was my answer.
No, Joe.
It's
He
fine.
had
Okay, so we
Because
had
I think it was like 30.3 maybe.
Oh, wait, hold on. You said 29.
Yeah.
It was 30.3. So Jared Huffer, where'd he go?
Why didn't I just say that? Did you guys? I don't know if you
Jared-
even heard that. I said that. I was like, it's probably. I think it's like 30.3 later.
It was
doesn't count, but-
exactly 30.3. But your first answer was 29, and Jared Huffer actually answered 31 before you said 29. So Jared Huffer wins this one for points that Glenn Robinson.
I should have just went with my
That's-
gut. I don't know
Do
why. I
we
didn't just-
understand how ridiculous that is?
Yeah, that's
30.
because Edie averaged like
23.
25 or whatever, 24.8.
Yeah. And 2-time National Player of the Year. And
Yeah.
Glenn Robinson averaged 30.3 over an entire freaking season. Okay. Here's the last one. This is the hardest one. Oh, wait. No, I've got 2 more. Okay. Sorry. I have 6 questions. Tell me who the 3 amigos were. First person.
I'm gonna be real with
Three
you.
of
No,
them?
no clue.
Yeah.
No idea.
We're looking at the chat. 3 amigos. Let's go. Gene Katie. 3-peat Big Ten champions.
Let me try to dig in deep. Let me see.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, the chat's not going to get it either?
No.
Not even Casey's going to get it? It was the 80s. Half the people that watch our chat. Okay, Nicole. Hey, I know you weren't alive, but also those cookies are fire.
Terrence.
Um,
There we go. Bill Hampson got it. Lewis, Stevens, and Mitchell. Good job. So we had, and one of them sons eventually played for us. Troy Lewis, Everett Stevens, and Todd Mitchell. Wait, did somebody get it before him?
No, but Bill had all 3. Terrence only had the 2.
No.
There's no Mitchell there. It's just
No, I said Bill Hampson.
Okay, that's what I said too.
All right.
Okay.
Last question.
All right.
Who was our first time? I don't know if anybody's going to get this. Who was our first time 3-time consensus All-American in Purdue basketball history?
John Wooden.
Very close. He was our second.
Oh boy.
No, that was.
Wasn't John?
I mean,
we got Cobra in the house. We love Cobra.
When I drew this question up, I thought it was John, and then Cobra's saying Stretch.
No.
I don't know who Stretch is, but
I don't know what he's saying, but I'm shouting out Cobra because he does fantastic work. Appreciate
he does.
him.
Yeah. All right. So the first was Stretch Murphy, Charles Murphy? I don't know. The first 3-time All-American in Purdue basketball history was Charles Murphy, and it was in 3 years leading directly up to John Wooden.
That was what I was going to say. I was going to say Murphy.
All right. So what we have learned is the chat kicked your guys' ass.
Well, I mean, that's not surprising. But shout out to the chat. Does Cobra's asking trivia? Does Braggs know about Ralph Jones, former coach of Purdue basketball, and the Chicago Bears? Won Purdue their first Big Ten title and Bears NFL championship. This is an insane pool, Cobra, that now I'm going to have to tie into tomorrow's CHGO Bears show, as I always try to find a way to talk about the Purdue Boilermakers on CHGO Bears. So that's great. Thank you for that. I will look into this now and dig heavy into that. And by dig heavy into this, I want you to send all the information you have on this to me so I can recite it off on our show tomorrow. But that is a fantastic pool.
I just got a brilliant idea. Next year, we need to bring on Cobra to do this like at the end of every show.
There we go.
I like this.
We can roll with like 5 trivia questions between the 3 guests and the chat. I can participate too if Cobra comes on, and then I can whip your guys' ass.
You would. I beat Braggs though with 6. That's all I care about.
Yes. So yes. That was a nice little segment there to finish things off. We said this show was going to be shorter, and of course it went an hour, which is fine. We're having fun. This is getting to the end of the year. We're not going to have too many more of these and then we're going to move to off-season shows after, of course, the national championship, which will be a lot of fun to do. That post-game show I'm looking forward to. But Amit Patel, $5 super chat. Love the trivia. Nice feature. Well, we appreciate you guys. We're trying different things. So yes, that's very interesting. Glenn Robinson, 31 points per game in a season.
30.3.
30.3. Only 40 minutes in a college basketball game. But I will reiterate that Michael Jordan once had 37.1 points per game in an NBA season, Joe. 37.1 points per game, Joe.
That's why he's the GOAT. Like, I don't know what you want me to say.
That's the beauty. And, I'm always going to bring it back to Michael Jeffrey Jordan. But great Jeopardy. Great job, Kraig. Great job, Joe. Appreciate Sasha Stefanovic as always.
48% he took 28 shots a game that year and 12 free throws.
Mm-hmm.
Are you just diving down wait, are you looking at Jordan or Glenn Robinson?
Jordan stats. And then I think he was the second player ever to have over 3,000 points. There was some other really cool.
We don't need to look at the second best NBA player of all time. This is a Purdue show.
Yeah, right.
All right, we're really quick, and then we can get out of here because I'm fat. I doubt either of you know about this, but I'm curious. There is a trend going around. It's on TikTok, but it's like remaking really popular songs to just like praise LeBron. Do you guys know at all what I'm talking about?
I did not.
No,
this is scary.
All I'm gonna say is MJ's never had that, so
yeah, that's true.
We can get out of here.
Yeah, we definitely can on that note. But we appreciate everybody tuning in here to Boilers in the Stands. once again, shout out to Sasha Stefanovic, great dude, and working hard as an assistant coach here for Purdue men's basketball. And then, of course, shout out to you guys in the chat. I know some of you guys, this show might have taken you by surprise, so I apologize for that. But they did their preview show, Kraig and Joe, yesterday, so make sure you tune in for that. But we wanted to run it back today, see if we could get a special guest on, and Sasha was nice enough to give us 25 minutes of his time. So if you came into the show late, it was a really great interview. We got into some things of how the process of how they, kind of game plan and things of that nature. So wanted to get you guys a little closer to tip-off. Excited to see all you guys, once again at over at our friends over at the Saint Shack on Friday night, starting at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Get your tickets now. QR code here on your screen from Tail Greeter. Appreciate those guys. Here's the .com address once again, tailgreeter.com/Boilers in the Stands, Sweet 16 pregame at Saint Shack. If you're looking on Facebook or Twitter, we have the link in there. And then we also have the link in the or I'll put the link in the description to this show here after it's over. So that wraps things up. The next time you'll see us will be a very, very, very late post-game show live from Lucas Oil Stadium. Who knows what time that show will start and who knows what time that show will end. But we're certainly going to bring it to you as we always do, no matter what time it is. And we'll be shutting that stadium down. Thank you very much. So we appreciate everybody tuning in. So we're looking forward to the game on Friday. Please come out to the pregame party. Say hello to us. We appreciate all you guys. So hit the like button on your way out. Thank you again to Sasha. Great job, Joe and Kraig. Watch their preview show where they dive into the X's and O's a lot deeper than what you heard here tonight. And until then, Boiler up. Sweet 16 starts on Thursday. Boilers up on Friday. Until then, have a great rest of your week. Have a good night. Boiler up.